You are listening to the FunnelAmplified Podcast, where we talk about your growth intensification through social expansion, content amplification, brand magnification, lead generation, conversion optimization, and pipeline acceleration. If you enjoy the show, please write and post your podcast review today. Now let's talk about growing your business.
Hey everybody, this is Brandon. Thanks for tuning in to the third and final part of our series with Michael Labate from SAP. Last week, we dove deeper into our conversation on digital selling. Michael gave some great tips on using LinkedIn based on the research and the learnings that they have gained over at SAP. If you have not had a chance to listen to that episode yet, I recommend that you add it to your playlist and give it a listen. Now we are going to start our third and final episode with Michael and pick right up where we left off. Let's get started.
You know, it reminds me of just a couple weeks ago, just to illustrate that story. So I have been building companies that help with personal brands for sales teams for 20 years. This is my third company doing it. I'm passionate about this. But, and you referenced Simon Sinek and made me think of this, the why that drives me, I have shared that why inside the walls of my companies with my teams for 20 years. But I never shared my why outside the walls, because in that time, as I started in business, and track with me here and see if you think I'm right, we didn't express our vulnerabilities. We didn't share that genuine relationship and position ourselves as somebody that understood the struggle. We always positioned ourselves as somebody that had answers, and we had our act together. And we didn't show that kind of vulnerability.
I mean, I absolutely.
You tracking me on
Brandon,
that, Michael?
Being vulnerable, being humble, being open or to humility, having some humility in your blood, so to say. I mean, this is to be human, right? Digital creates the barrier of the person in the flesh that can exhibit those, what you can see with your eyes when you're seeing someone for the first time, and you're making. And these are biases, right? You're making inferences. You're making a connection with someone. I mean, you're watching their posture and their body language and the things that they say, how they say it. Those things are absent in digital. And unfortunately, you need a lot of that stuff to create a personality with someone, to really, store in memory and let that person, start to build trust. So, to your point, it's it's extremely valuable to listen with empathy, to really follow. When you're following someone, you're looking for a decision maker, you're looking for the influencers. Don't just look at one post, the latest post, and then respond to that and say, hey, it looks like we have similar interests. I would love to connect with you. That's not intrinsic value. You're not adding anything to that person's life. I'm completing an executive MBA program at Northwestern Kellogg School of Management. Professor Carter Cast, one of the most unbelievable people I've ever met, and certainly one of the best professors I've had at Kellogg, and I've had lots of great professors. Professor Cast said something really well. He said, before you say anything to anyone ever, first stop and say, is what I'm about to say going to add value to this person? If you just think about that for a second. In digital, that's so powerful. If you're going to connect with someone, go deeper than the first post. Look at everything start looking at everything they've been doing for the last month. If you genuinely want to connect with this person because you think you can add value to them and help them solve a problem, then you should be looking at who are they connected with? How are they connected with you? What have they been saying in the last month? Oftentimes, the last month is a big indication of what's driving them. Yeah. Is there anything about their dialogue and their connections that can give you indication on the problems that they're experiencing? Come at that problem with a mindset that you genuinely care because that problem is something that you know you can solve. Your organization can solve that issue, not with a product. You can solve it with thought leadership, your experience, and a solution, right? So less about a SKU on a box and
Mm-hmm.
more about you as a personal brand and a thought leader. I can go into this organization. I can help these folks, and I would love to connect with them because of that basis. That's a whole different kind of relationship, right? It goes back to Carter Cast's. Before you say anything, think if this is going to absolutely lend value. If it doesn't, you're going to be remembered for that, and they're going to be less, you know, they're going to be, less interested and less inclined to want to open up a dialogue with you in their vastly busy, hyper connected world. Why you? Why you have something to say to me that's greater, than anyone else in the network of 2 to 3,000 people that I could probably get similar, feedback from. So you really got to be on top of this, and you have to make sure that you're value driven so that you really show that you can add value.
You know what I love about this, Michael, is that you always bring things and put a nice, pretty bow on top of them. And we just brought our conversation over these 2 podcasts right back to the beginning, which is about mindset. To do what you just said takes a mindset of, I want to build a genuine relationship. I want to position myself to be an advocate, to be a partner, to engage and build trust, come alongside somebody and help them with their business challenges versus that person is a quota. That's a number that I need to get in order to meet my quota
It's
for the
driving
week or
down
for
the
the
street,
month.
Brandon. To your point, I'm going to put an
I think,
illustration around what I think I just heard you say. You're driving down the street. Every one of us has experienced this in our lives. I like to use the helping the person on the side of the road changing a tire. You're driving down the road, you see this elderly person who's struggling. They're not even changing the tire. They have a flat. They're just standing there, right? Usually off to the side of the road. You always have that instinct of, if you have enough time, you can pull over and help them. If you don't, you usually call. You're one of the 10 people who've experienced the same thing, and they call, for help. The idea is that you have a mindset to do that, but that's not a mindset to gain. That's a mindset to share and to not gain. If you approach your buyer with the mindset to not gain, but rather to be part of something that's very unique, that's extraordinary, that's about people connecting on a deeper level, and it's authentic. And you won't approach it as, I'm going to go buy an email list and just spread this thing out there, or I'm going to cold call 100 people on my call list because I've got to make the number. Unfortunately, there's a lot of sales leaders in place that are driving teams on the old mindset. That's unfortunate for the reps that are in those teams, but that doesn't mean that the rep can't live with those core values and change the mindset to behave in the way that you and I have been illustrating here. And if you want the proof, one of the things that I like to turn to are some data points that IDC and the Siriuses of the world have put out there, over the course of probably the last decade or so. And it goes like this: you have 70% of a buyer's journey, and up to 90% of the decision is made before customers are ready to talk to a vendor. 7 are involved in the average B2B buying decision process, and 90% of decision makers say they never respond to cold outreach. This is enormous. If this isn't means for change, I don't know what is.
yeah, and I think you summarized everything so well right there. if that isn't a call to action to make change and adopt the mindset, the tactics, the training of digital selling, then I think companies are just willing to let themselves slowly become become not relevant to their buyers' lives. Well, Michael, thank you so much. As always, you always bring so much insight. You bring such passion to this conversation. And I'm always grateful for the time that you're willing to carve out for me for these conversations, to put it on my podcast. You, my friend, have an open invitation that anytime you want to come back and have more conversations, you just let me know and we will get you plugged in, because you always bring so much insight and value to this conversation. So thank you so much. For everybody listening, I'm going to put all of Michael's information in here. He is somebody who is worth following. He is somebody who you should be listening to what he has to say, what he has to share, what he has seen, what he's experienced, and how that insight can make a difference into your business and into your teams, and start moving that
Thank you,
needle
Brandon. Thank
in
you.
a positive direction.
Really,
So Michael, thank you
I have
again.
to
I
say,
really appreciate
I
it.
enjoy our discussions, as I say, and being invited to your podcast. I'm humbled. I hope it's going to be meaningful to folks, and feel free to connect with me, as Brandon mentions, on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'd be happy to connect and talk more deeply about these conversations in the future. So thank you so much.
Hey, Funnel Amplifiers, thanks for listening. Did you know that we post new videos every day on our YouTube channel? Go to FunnelAmplified.com/YouTube and subscribe so you won't miss out on our new content. Again, it's FunnelAmplified.com/YouTube. Subscribe now, and thanks again.